720 or higher credit score. Let me see. I don't, you know what, that rules out a lot of people. So what can a person do to bring their credit score up? Someone told me that if you open up an account, for example, you take $1,000, you put that $1,000 in one account, then you borrow against that, take it to another, repeat that 3 or 4 times. Is that true? Would that really increase a person's credit score?
It can increase your score. What they're basically looking at is the way you pay your bills.
Okay.
Your PG&E, your phone bill, those aren't really tracked on your credit report. Things that are tracked on your credit report are cars, credit cards, student loans. Those are the main 3 that they're looking at. They're looking for the longevity, how long you've had these accounts, how well you manage these accounts, meaning if you pay them on time and you don't get near your loan limits a lot. If you constantly get up to $4,000 and your limit is $4,000, they recognize that you aren't a good money manager, and really your credit score can be lowered because of that.
So that sounds like if a person is living beyond their means,
Yes.
which brings us up to REOs. First, let me ask you, before we talk about REOs, are there loans available for first-time home buyers? Will a first-time home buyer get any extra consideration? Say their credit score is 677, or say they're shy. When I say shy, they're somewhere in the neighborhood. If they're shy, will they get any special consideration as a first-time home buyer?
They can get consideration if they take one of the government programs, the
Okay.
Fannie, Freddie, some of the community programs that are available for them to take advantage of. And like I said, you can get some of those programs that have lower credit score requirements. But you'd have to search those out. You'd need a mortgage and a loan professional to help you find those and qualify. Plus, you can get grants and things that would make the risk less if you were having a credit score below 600, 650.
Okay. Now, Rebba, you mentioned a mortgage professional.
Yes.
Now, a lot of people are under the impression in this type market that they should see a major bank as opposed to a mortgage professional. Are they the same? Because people were using mortgage brokers, and it seems like they're trying to push the mortgage brokers out and just the big banks are doing all of the business. What's going on with that?
Well, the banks are looking for people. Everybody had a hand in what they call the mortgage meltdown.
Thank you.
Everybody, the appraiser was guilty, the real estate professional was guilty, the buyer was guilty, the seller was guilty. It was all based on greed. Now the bank has said, well, we think that the mortgage broker was partly to blame because they, quote, helped the buyer lie on their application. Not particularly true. And even if it was true, the bank's responsibility is to make sure that they're lending out money, their shareholders' money, in a professional fashion, and they knew that they were not. So now they're trying to say that it was the mortgage professional's fault. It was not. But what you really would want to do is hire a mortgage professional, because you can go to different banks. If you walk into Wells Fargo can only put you into their program. Same with Bank of America. They can put you into their program. Whereas a mortgage professional would search all of those, plus some secondary places that most buyers don't know about that do have funds to lend buyers.
Okay. I love the way you explain it. See, this is why we must speak with professionals. Whatever your need is, seek out the professional in that area so that you can get the correct advice. Just that is the very best way, and I'm so glad you're here. Now let's talk about REOs. Are REOs the same as a foreclosure? And if not, what's the difference?
Yes. An REO stands for real estate owned property.
Okay.
So the bank has foreclosed on a property. It's real estate owned. Banks own those properties. They took them back from the person who couldn't pay the mortgage, and now they're interested in selling them. Sometimes they're greatly discounted. Other times they're in very desirable areas and are priced at market rate. So just because it's an REO does not mean it's going to be very favorably priced. It can be, but it very much depends on the condition of the property and the location of the property.
Okay. And Rebba, what are the pros and cons of a real estate owned property or foreclosure?
A foreclosure. Well, a foreclosure the bank has obviously never lived in, so they can't give you any information about the condition of the home other than what you can see for yourself. Whereas if you had a seller, someone who had lived in that property, they could tell you if there was a leaky roof and when the roof had been replaced. They could tell you if there were leaky faucets. They could tell you if the floor was uneven.
Okay, you're talking about disclosures.
Yes.
We call that disclosures in the real estate market. In other words, the owner who had lived there, or the owner who is familiar with all of the faults or the deficiencies in the property, and they would have to disclose that information.
Yes. Whereas the bank knows nothing and can't tell you anything, and you're purchasing the property pretty much in an as-is condition.
Okay.
There are no warranties expressed or implied.
Warranties expressed or implied. Don't like that phrase. Why don't I like that phrase? Because there's nothing, no matter which way you frame the cat, there's no protection. But one might say, well, if it's a rather new property, it would be worth getting a foreclosed new property because the chances of problems with the property or deficiencies, as you referred to earlier, would be less.
Yes.
Would that be right?
Yes, and you also would hire a qualified professional. An older house is a good investment, but it needs to be looked at a lot more carefully. So you would hire a home inspector, a contractor, and a roofer to give you an accurate assessment of what your house really was, what kind of condition it was really in. So you can get it, you just can't get it from the seller. You'd have to pay for that information yourself, which you should do anyway.
Okay. And exactly, buyer beware. It's worth it for, it behooves a buyer to have a real estate professional help them in the purchase. And a lot of people, I'm sure a lot of you know, but I like to say it again. Hire a buying agent. This is the time to buy, not the time to sell, as many people are aware. But the buyer agent, you get at no cost to you. Isn't that right, Rebba?
That's correct. Whenever there's a property sold, the seller is the one who pays both the selling agent and the buying agent.
Great. And that's good news. Remember that. Now, Rebba, I'm really concerned about the home ownership opportunities for young people and young adults. And it's like, it doesn't look like there's going to be very much opportunity for them to become homeowners. And I'm really bothered by that. And before I ask you to comment on that, I just want to share with you some information that I received from a company that is in Bayview, Hunters Point. I'm not going to mention their name because I don't think that would be courteous. So I'm going to cover their name over here. But one of the things they're saying now, as community brokers and community real estate agents, it's our job to look out for you. It's our job to look out for people that are in the community and help you to remain and help you to grow. And if you're renting, to help you become a homeowner. And if you're a homeowner, to help you upgrade when the time comes. I'm very concerned about a proposal that came across my desk. And I submitted a proposal for a Bayview Hunters Point Preferred Broker, Community Broker Program, which is comprised of Bayview Property Management, ALN Realty, and my company, DWS BVHP Real Estate Services. And we also are going to work in partnership with LaFleur Welton Real Estate Agency. But this proposal is an example of the challenges that we face to help people become homeowners and to help people, because no one cares like we community people do. Right? Nobody cares like we do. And this proposal says that the real estate brokers, see, we have all this building that's coming to Bayview Hunters Point. Lennar Urban is coming, building thousands of units, as I mentioned earlier. Now, someone from the outside is coming to Hunters Point, and this is the program criteria. It says in order to sell property in our own community, we need to have a minimum of 5 years of real estate experience. Now, Rebba, how do we ever come up? How do we grow? These small companies that are coming into our neighborhood, we are no longer going to have people come and tell